What's up, guys? This is Brad. Let's talk PSA. All right, so I'm here to ask the age-old question. Is PSA ever going to get into magazine grading? I've been thinking about this a lot, and I have a couple thoughts that I wanted to share. So first off, if you don't know, PSA is pretty much the most well-known and collectible card grading company. Here I've got my Joe Montana rookie card. This is a PSA 8 from 1981 Topps, and yeah, PSA. Like I said, they got the highest resale value on card grading, and they just really seem to be dominating. CGC is the really only grading authority that does Sports Illustrated magazine. So here I've got Joe Montana's first Sports Illustrated cover from 1982, CGC 9.0. Both of these are awesome. I'm a 49ers fan. Love Joe Montana. And CGC also grades cards. PSA grades lots of other things, which we're going to talk about here in just a minute, but are they ever going to get into magazines? By the way, these two Joe Montana collectibles, which, like I said, in my opinion, are awesome. This rookie card has been graded by PSA 26,645 times. At the PSA 8 level, like the one that I have here, there are 9,041 PSA 8s, and there are 2,206 copies graded higher, which would either be a PSA 9 or a PSA 10. For the first Sports Illustrated cover with Joe Montana, 65 newsstand copies have been graded. And by the way, CGC started grading magazines over 15 years ago, so this isn't brand new. At the CGC 9.0 level, this is one of only 6, and there are only 7 graded higher. So that is part of the reason why I've switched mainly to collecting magazines now, even though I still own tons of cards, still love my cards. Um, there's a big difference in the scarcity of some of these newsstand magazines. Okay, so anyway, PSA. Let me fix my video real quick. There we go. Is PSA going to get into magazine grading? I want to look at some of the things that PSA currently grades. All right, and so you can see right here. Obviously, we know they do cards. That's their biggest thing. They do a lot of autograph authentication. They do game tickets. That has become a fairly popular niche in the collectible space that PSA leads the way in. They will grade packs, so like unopened packs of sports cards. They will grade Funko Pops. They will authenticate both bats and gloves. They also grade photographs, like Type 1 photographs. They'll, of course, authenticate autographs on those as well. And then, they have some additional service as well. So they grade a pretty good variety of items, a pretty good variety of sports items. And when you look at these, you just kind of wonder, the sports magazines really would seem to fit perfectly into what they're already doing. And here's one of the biggest reasons why I think it is legitimate that PSA might get into magazine grading. Of course, I've been saying for 2 years now that I hope that they will and that I think that they will. Although I will say that now CGC just launched, well, they haven't launched it yet, but they just announced the imminent launch of their autograph authentication program, which will be using JSA. And so with that new initiative by CGC, I don't really care as much about PSA getting into magazine grading, because that was the one biggest piece that I was hoping PSA could add that CGC wasn't providing, was autograph authentication. Now that they're going to be adding that here anytime soon, I don't really care as much about PSA getting in, but I still think they're going to. And here's one of the biggest reasons why. All right, so take a look at this. PSA Magazine. And actually, I want to start by looking at this one. PSA Magazine is a monthly magazine that PSA puts out. I think it's got some price guides in there and some different info on sports cards. But if you haven't noticed, PSA Magazine has been doing something pretty interesting for the past, I don't know, at least 2 years or so now. They've been putting out magazine cover variants. So here's an image right here. This is a PSA magazine cover with Michael Jordan. And these were three different variant covers that they put out. Looks like one's like a silver, one's a gold, one's a black, basically playing off of what sports cards often do. It's the same image, but it's just a variant cover, and they're doing limited print runs. So, for example, I know that there was one of these, I think it might have been the gold, where they only printed 10 copies. Here's another example. You can see this was another Michael Jordan cover, and they had some different variants. So, some of these may have been limited to 500 copies, some of them 100, some of them 10. And a lot of them are playing off, again, sports cards. Like this green one, I think that's playing off of like the 1985 Tops, I believe, something like that. And here's some more examples down here. You got this month. This was, I think, one of their earlier ones. You had an Ichiro variant that had like the Japanese lettering. There was also a Shohei Ohtani cover, and then there was a variant there with the Japanese lettering. Pretty cool stuff. Here's another example with a Chiefs cover. Looks like you could get a Travis Kelce or a Patrick Mahomes. And yeah, I don't know how many. Here's some different Julio Rodriguez. Once again, I think this is like what is this? Donruss or Upper Deck. They're playing off of some of these baseball card variations. Here's some Steph Curry variants. So that's pretty cool. I really like that PSA has been doing that. Here's some Joe Burrow cover variants, and then one of the limited run short prints was a Tiger Woods cover that month. So very cool. So they're doing that with the magazine variants. They're even now throwing in some autographs. So PSA posted this on their Instagram page, along with the variant covers. Autograph copies are snaking their way into the Collectors Club members' mailboxes at random. PSA authenticated and hand numbered out of 10. Be on the lookout for these rare pieces. This was autographed by Rookie of the Year Corbin Carroll for the Arizona Diamondbacks. So again, pretty cool. They're kind of incorporating some of the sports card stuff into these magazine covers. And here's another thing that they're doing. They're now even offering buybacks. They're offering bounties. This is something else that has been happening out there in the sports card world, and PSA Magazine is offering it with their magazine covers. So the hunt for the one-of-one cover parallels of Tiger and Serena is on. If anyone were to get these one-of-one Tiger covers, PSA will buy them back for $5,000. How about that? Chasing greatness. Um, we got one-of-one gold waves, two $5,000 bounties in play. This is the base cover with Tiger Woods. That's what the majority of people will get. There's there's a variant cover with Serena Williams that's limited to 500 copies. Here's a Tiger Woods limited cover that's limited to 100 copies. The event badge variant cover, and then you got these one of ones that once again they will buy back for $5,000. So here is what this makes me think. What this makes me think is PSA obviously recognizes the potential collectability of these magazines. Otherwise, why would they be doing this with their own magazine? They're doing variants, they're doing autographs, they're doing buybacks, they're doing limited print runs. That's very cool, but it just tells me that they recognize that there's collectability with this. And so my question is, if PSA recognizes the potential collectability of magazine covers, with what they're doing with their own magazine, and if they're already the leading grading authority in um, the majority of sports memorabilia and collectible authentication, then how long is it until they actually get into the game themselves of grading these magazines? I mean, we already saw they grade a wide variety of things. They just bought SGC, which was like their biggest competitor. Um, there's some crazy things happening in the hobby world right now. You had PSA acquire SGC, you had CGC acquire JSA, you just had, what was it? eBay acquired Golden Auctions. There's some crazy mergers happening, there's some crazy shifting and leveraging going on, and it just has been making me wonder, seeing what PSA is doing with all these different magazine covers. Um, when are they going to get into the game? Because I feel pretty confident that they are. Just it doesn't really seem to make sense that they would be doing all this with their own magazine and basically telling us that they think there's collectability, but then they're not going to grade them themselves. I got to think that they're going to be heading that direction. Now, I will say, if they do it, they missed a huge opportunity with the autograph authentication, because now that CGC has made their move and they've acquired JSA and they'll be rolling out the autograph authentication, that gives them a huge step up. Because I think that if PSA had beaten them to the punch before CGC rolled that out with JSA, PSA may have run away with the sports magazine grading hobby, and they might not have looked back. But CGC, I think now has solidified themselves. Of course, the service hasn't been rolled out yet. It's supposed to be happening this month, but we'll see. So if PSA comes in, I would expect them to. I wouldn't expect them to take away all of the market share from CGC. With sports magazines, I would actually kind of expect it to seem. I would expect it to be maybe 50-50. I could see both of them being highly collectible and reputable as far as grading Sports Illustrateds and Slams and other sports magazines. Which one would have more value? That remains to be seen. Once again, CGC really has a huge head start when it comes to comics and sports magazines. Like I said, they've been grading sports magazines since 2009. But PSA has probably the bigger name in the sports collectibles hobby. The one thing I do feel confident about is that if PSA gets into sports magazine grading, I think it would bring even more people into the hobby. They have such a huge following in sports cards. Sports cards are so much more popular and well known than magazines. I think a lot of people still don't really understand the nuances of collecting magazines. But I think that if PSA were to announce that they're getting into it, it would probably bring a nice little chunk of new collectors into the space, which would be awesome. So anyway, just wanted to share my thoughts. Is PSA going to get into magazine grading? I still think the answer is yes. I think that what they're doing with their own PSA magazine is kind of hinting at that. I think they missed the boat with the autograph verification because CGC, made their big move with JSA, but I still think it would be a pretty big deal if PSA jumps in as well. It would give us two different options. Some competition might be good for CGC. We still struggle with getting proper labeling sometimes. There's still occasionally some quality control issues, although they've made huge improvements on a lot of those things. The quality of the slabs, the turnaround times, they've really improved there. But PSA jumping in could really force them to up their game even more. So let me know what you think. Drop a comment. If you've not yet done so, please subscribe. And until the next video, see you next time.